talked about how like men like lust is making us the enemy is trying to use lust to spiritually and emotionally kill us. I truly believe that. But I think my encouragement to women would be, don't treat us how the culture has defined us. If a man comes to you and you feel and you're turned off because you feel like he's emotionally not there or he's spiritually not where you want him to be, treat him like what God says he is. And I think a lot of times in our culture, men can be built up by women in ways I really don't think that they can. I think that women come all the time with their frustrations and their complaints instead of let me be a woman of God in a way that will come to a man and treat him how God says he is. And I think, me and Ezekiel was talking the other day, and we were talking about how like sometimes when people see our relationships online, people say goals, and people say this and people say that, and it's just like, no, like we wasn't always the men we were, but we are very much a product of a good woman who helped us get to a place, right? And so what a good woman does is, if you love him well in some ways and don't meet him with frustration and encourage him, not by his actions all the time, but treat him like like he's the man that God called him to be. I think a lot of men will see a lot of their problematic, issues, and he can grow, right?
That's good.
And so I think, if just because a man acts emotionally dead, don't treat him emotionally dead.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
What I was going to say is, I was just going to confirm that Ezekiel's perspective is valid. I was listening to a podcast the other day by a sex therapist, and he was talking about how there are two different desires that people don't understand are at play in our sexual relationships, which is that statistically more women usually have what's called receptive desire, and more men have what's called initiative desire, which means that we all know this, but men are just ready to go, right?
All
and
day.
so they are prone to initiate because they're ready. But a woman usually has initiative or a receptive desire, which means she's in neutral, and it's the man's job to bring her to go, right? And so I think that is interesting because it helps the woman not to feel like something is wrong with her because she's not turned on as often as her husband. It's nothing wrong with you. It's just that he has to lead you to the place that he's at. And so I think that that puts couples in a position of interdependence, which I think is what God has called us to.
I love
and
that.
I think it initiates pursuit, right? It initiates this picture of Christ pursuing his church.
But I think, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But I think, like me and you were talking about, I think what burden that puts on the woman, and a good burden, Christ, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, like Christian discipleship has burdens. But I think what burden it puts on the woman is you have to make a decision to respond to the leadership. Right. And so I think there's a lot in the yes. Right. So if he's trying to bring me and guide me to go, if I'm always saying no, I need to ask why. Right. So is it that I need healing, or is it that I need humility? Oof. And I think when you dig into both of those, then I think that helps us to work through sexual
healing
issues.
and humility can go a long way.
Yeah.